Hello. So in this live training, what I am doing is I'm going to tell you exactly how to stop laboring over your emails. Now, laboring over your emails may not seem like such a big deal. If you're just writing one email today, it takes you a little bit longer than normal. But just think about this is a behavior, a way of working that you repeat all the time, every single day. Just think about how much extra time you are spending overworking that's eating into the time that you could be spending doing your other work or doing something else that's important to you as well. And here's the other thing. How you do one thing is often how you do everything. So if you are overworking, spending more time than you need to on writing emails, think about how that shows up when you are reviewing an agreement or you're checking a document or doing any other bit of your work. So if this is something you know you have a tendency to do, if you sit down to write a quick email and then 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, you're still redrafting it, that's laboring over emails. It's a form of overworking that's not serving you in your career. And today, I'm going to tell you how to stop. Now, I'm going to use my flip chart today. You're in luck because I did this live on Instagram earlier this morning and all my slides were the wrong way around. So I've checked all the settings and I know you can see these today. So how to stop laboring over emails. First of all, the most important thing and the only thing, the real solution to this is you need to be able to stop before you're ready. So when you're writing your emails, you're going to want to keep writing them, editing them, checking over and over again. Your brain is not going to want to stop until it thinks that it's perfect, or your version of perfect, your version of good enough. And the skill that you need to adopt, or the solution to the problem of overworking when it comes to your emails, is to send your emails before you're ready. Now, I know that's probably making you kind of feel in your body like, oh, I couldn't do this, like some resistance. I couldn't possibly send an email before I'm ready to send it, before I know it's good enough, before I know it's of the right standard. But this is the skill you need to adopt and learn in order to be more efficient in your business. And don't worry, I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it. So let's talk about the actual step-by-step process you can literally follow. If you write this down, you can follow this whole process today, literally with the next email that you have to write at work. You could try this process out and see what a difference it makes. So I'm going to walk you through the 6 steps that I recommend you follow. The first step is you need to set your timer. So you need to set a timer for the right amount of time to spend on the email. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do I know what's the right amount of time? And that's the skill, right? That's something you're going to have to judge and then evaluate as you go forward. And the more you do this, the more you practice starting at the beginning of a task and asking yourself, how much is the right amount of time to spend on this email, for example, the better you will get at judging it. There will be times, for example, when the email is so simple, it's a couple of lines, there's nothing like hugely important in it. You can decide you're only going to spend 5 minutes on it or 2 minutes on it. Other times, it may be you're sending an email to a client, for example, following an important meeting or following a negotiation. There's going to be a lot more information in that email, and the accuracy of that information, maybe conveying the right message, is going to be so important that you want to allow perhaps 20 minutes for that email, maybe half an hour, maybe more. That's something you're going to need to judge. And I'm going to come back to that a little bit later. But for now, the first step is you effectively make an intelligent guess for how long the email should take you. Step number 2, you write the email. Now, you write it all out in one go, however it comes out of your brain, tumbling out of your mouth or out of your fingers onto the screen. You just write it. Do not be tempted halfway through a sentence to go back and change it, delete it, correct it, any of that. You just write your first version of the email out straight away. Now, I've written 2 books. Those of you who follow me already know my latest book, Be the First. It's actually the 2-year, 2nd year anniversary of that book. I'm going to show you actually. I've got it right here. I can't believe that it's been 2 years since I published that book. So when I was writing this book, one of the things they encourage you to do when you're writing a book, which is very challenging way of, like, it's a big piece of work to get done. So there's a skill to it. And one of the most valuable things I was taught was that the part of your brain that you use to express the original idea, get stuff out onto the page, is very different to the part of your brain that you use to edit something. So it's really important that you separate those tasks out. And this is what I'm explaining and talking you through doing now. Don't try to create your email and edit it at the same time. So first of all, you want to write it. And in the publishing industry, they call it the shitty first draft, excuse my French. But yes, you just get it out of you and onto the screen or onto the paper, right? Then the next step, and this is step number 3 in the process I'm showing you, is you want to edit it. So you've got your shitty first draft, and then you use that other part of your brain to look at what you've created in that first kind of iteration, and you edit it for meaning. Like, does this mean what I want it to mean? Is this doing what I want it to do or what I need it to do? That's your edit. And then the next thing you want to do, so step number 4, is you quality check. And again, using a different part of your brain. In your quality check, you're looking for the spelling mistakes, the grammatical mistakes, getting the nuances right, okay? So that's your quality check, checking that it is accurate. I like to think of it as like when I'm helping my son Max with his English homework and I'm picking out all the missing full stops or the commas or the capital letters. It's the simple quality check that you want to do before you send it, picking up typos, things like that. So that's step number 4. Step number 5, this is really subtle, but it's really important that you do it. And that is to declare it done. You literally have to say, that's it, it's done. And that's important because it's a message to your brain that you're drawing a line under the task. The task is finished. Now, one of the secret signs of imposter syndrome I talk about is that you never really properly finish a task, you just run out of time. Well, this declaring it done is one of the strategies you need to develop in order to do that. It is the decision in a moment that you have finished working on doing a piece of work, it is done, it is good enough. And then finally, your next step to stop you laboring over the email anymore is to press send. So those are literally a 6-step process you can apply today, literally right now after this, watching this video, whether you're watching it live or whether you're watching it on a replay, that is going to stop you laboring over emails. Now, if that seems a bit convoluted to you for a short email, remember the first 2 or 3 times it may feel a bit methodical, but as soon as you get this, like you've done this a few times, it's going to come naturally to you. It's going to be a habit. And that's how we change those longer term like behaviors. And that's how you create longer term results. So bear with this as a very specific, I'm walking you through every step of the process. You master this and it's going to have a ripple effect through everything you do in the office, which is amazing. So let's talk about why it is worth, I've used the flip chart for ages, I'm having real fun with it, why it is worth doing this in the first place. I talked about the fact that how you do one thing is often how you do everything. So we're looking at the implications for overworking, like laboring over your emails as a form of overworking, and the knock-on effect that has in other areas. But let's look at the knock-on effect it has if you start to change this habit, if you stop laboring over emails. The result you get is emails, or whatever piece of work you're doing, actually take the right amount of time instead of too much time, instead of you overworking. And let's face it, if you're not overworking, what you're therefore doing is working so much more efficiently, so you're getting more done in less time, and you're being so much more productive. You're literally just producing better quality and more of the right quality work. And you know what all of that means? More efficiency, more productivity. It leads to progressing the 4 areas of your career that are so important. So being a lawyer, your day-to-day experience of being a lawyer is going to be easier because you're more efficient and productive. You're going to have better balance. Why? Because you've got more time available because you're more efficient and productive. Those 2 things also are going to do wonders for your confidence. When you start to become really accurate, can you see that well? There we go, better view there. When you start to get really good at understanding how long things take you and being able to predict that, being able to plan that, being able to then complete the work in that time, that is going to do wonders for your confidence in your ability to do this job, to manage extra work that comes in, and to be able to generally know that you can always be getting better and better and becoming more and more efficient. You've got this skill. And then finally, recognition. Can you read that? You will, that's the 4th pillar, right? So everybody, your peers, your boss, your clients, they will start to notice how much more confident, how much more efficient and productive you become as a result of this relatively small, slight tweak, slight change in the way you write emails. How amazing is that? So lots of brilliant results waiting for you at the end of this work. Now, I have a massive trigger warning for you. Doing this work, sending an email before you're ready is going to trigger your imposter syndrome, right? So this is a trigger warning for you, like a red alert. Now you're going to want to check one more time. Remember I said you write the email, then you edit it, and then you quality check it, and then you mark it as done, and then you send it. Now your brain's going to want to say, oh, just one more time. I need to read through it again. Oh, let me just double check. That, of course, like sending the email out, it's going to feel like a risk of exposure, right? Somebody might read the email, there might be a mistake in it. What if they see this? What if you've got it wrong? All the things your brain will offer you when you go to say it's done and when you go to send the email. So be aware that that's going to happen. Be aware that you will, this is something I do a lot. Your imposter syndrome brain will make you want to look at the email again once you've sent it and keep rereading it, checking, was it okay? Did I get it right? Yeah, so be aware that's again something that your imposter syndrome will try to encourage you to do. And if you do that, then you're also overworking, spending more time on the task than you should be, than it's required, right? Rereading an email several times that you've already sent just out of fear that you may have got something wrong is not a good use of your time. That is overworking. Another way your imposter syndrome will trigger you is you will then just also worry, right? You will have sent that email, but it'll keep coming back to you. Worry, did I get it right? Did I say it well enough? Be aware of those things and don't worry. What we want to do when your imposter syndrome is triggered, the solution is very, very simple and it works. Whatever the cause of the trigger, it's always this process that I teach you for solving your imposter syndrome in the moment when you've been triggered. You always come back to this process, which is number 1, you recognize that it's just your imposter syndrome that's been triggered. Literally acknowledging that in your own brain is a way that just calms your nervous system and reminds you nothing has gone wrong. This is just what your brain does when you do anything that shows or offers anything that feels like a risk of exposure. Somebody seeing your work, seeing or reading something you've done, and the risk that they might see that it's not good enough or decide it's not right enough or perfect enough. It's just the way, it's just your process. It's just your brain's way of trying to keep you safe. When you know that about yourself, when you've been given a trigger, when you know you have a trigger warning, you can anticipate it. Helps you to recognize that it's just your imposter syndrome. It's not the reality. It's just the way your brain's trying to keep you safe. The second thing is you lean into the discomfort of it, right? Lean into your imposter syndrome. So that horrible feeling that comes over your body when you're about to press send for an email that all you've done is you've written it, you've edited it, and you've quality checked it. And it's going to feel very uncomfortable for you to have to just draw a line under it and press send. So you lean into that discomfort, okay? And then the third thing you do is you follow your imposter syndrome to your goal, right? So what that means is instead of going back to what you've always done, which is to overwork, to check it 50 times to make sure it's perfect, you follow it. So you keep going. You press the send anyway. You trust the process and you follow the experience of your imposter syndrome, right? Until you've done the task that you wanted to do. So that's always what you want to come back to as your solution when your imposter syndrome has been triggered. And it's going to be triggered by stopping laboring over emails. Right. So before you go, there are 3 skills you are going to need to get good at. One of them is estimating the amount of time that something will take you. I talked about this at the beginning, and what I will say to you is that, and as I also said at the beginning, is that this is a skill which you will develop. You need to cultivate. What I don't want you to do is to try this out, estimate a time and that be wrong, and you go over time and think, oh, this process won't work, right? Or I can't do this. Your ability to judge how long something will take is something that will get better with practice. So treat it, please, as a skill that you are cultivating, not something you either can or can't do. You just have to learn to do it. And the way you learn is by getting started right now, and you keep doing it and you get the feedback. And then you apply what you learn in the feedback from whether it was the right amount of time, whether you think it was too much or too little. You then use that in the next time you go out to do this task. The second skill you would need to cultivate, and I want you to see it as a skill, is the skill of finishing something before you feel ready to let it go. Okay, that's a skill. Again, your imposter syndrome will be triggered. You won't want to let it go. It's a skill to cultivate, something to practice. You will get better at it. Thirdly, the skill. It is a skill to allow imperfection into your life. Now, I laugh because this is something I've had to work so very hard on. And I'm a lawyer by nature, by training. And I know for all you lawyers out there that this idea of imperfection even existing. And look, it's so ironic, isn't it? You know, to experience imposter syndrome and yet expect ourselves to be able to produce everything to a level of perfection that's basically unattainable. It's just so strange how those two mindsets or states of mind can coexist. So what we have to do is literally learn how to allow even the possibility of us putting things out into the world that aren't perfect. And I'm telling you what, this book, which is, by the way, amazing, it most certainly is not perfect. So putting this out into the world, having it published, be out there, is really like living proof and the highest example I could give you of allowing imperfection into your world. But guess what? As a result of my willingness to do that, I have an amazing book in the world that's changing people's lives, right? This thing that can make, like, it's just the highest expression of my work and of the difference I can make for people and in helping them solve their imposter syndrome, all because I was able to allow imperfection. Oh, and not to mention, by the way, the visibility piece, right? And the recognition that I received as a result of being willing to do this. And all of this is available for you too. And it's therefore a skill that's really worth you cultivating. Now, the last thing I want to tell you is that so far as these skills are concerned, you can go out and you can already start following that process that I've given you to stop you laboring over emails and start just acquiring those skills like every time you do it. But I do want to tell you that I have created like tools and concepts that help you do that. And I want to just give you an overview of those, because these are some of the things you learn in Imposter Syndrome coaching for lawyers. It's a bit light there. There's so much lovely sunlight coming in through my window. I hope you can see that. So in Imposter Syndrome coaching, that's my coaching program for lawyers. It's not currently open for enrollment. So if you are interested in joining that, you want to be on my waiting list and ready so you can find out when I open enrollment, which is going to be the next enrollment, I think, is in March. So get on the waiting list now so you don't miss that announcement. But for example, what I teach you in Imposter Syndrome coaching, you get this tool called the Goldilocks gauge. Remember, I said you need the skill of being able to judge how long things should take you, how much is the right amount of time to spend on a task. I created a tool to help you do that. It's called the Goldilocks gauge. It's super cool. Helps you work out what's too much time and what's too little time and find just the right amount of time. The discomfort zone, I teach you how to be in the discomfort zone without having a complete breakdown, right? Without your nervous system like imploding on you. And that's really important because remember, I said one of the skills you need is to be able to send an email or hand something over before in your mind you're ready. Because for you, being ready means being perfect, and we need to be able to we need to be able to achieve an excellent, the highest level of performance and execution without needing it to be perfect, because perfection as a standard is not an ideal use of your time because it doesn't exist as a standard, right? So we want to get away from that, but that's going to be very uncomfortable for you. So what we need is to be able to be in the discomfort zone and know that nothing has gone wrong. Finally, failure tolerance, very important. Allowing that imperfection into your life means and requires that you be able to tolerate failure. Now, I know, again, it's a bit like imperfection. Failure is kind of like a trigger word for us, right? Especially if we're lawyers, especially if we have imposter syndrome. The idea of failure is so very painful, let alone actually experiencing it. So often what we do, and this is how imposter syndrome ends up holding us back, is we'll do anything we can to avoid it. There are lots of different types of failure, and what we want to be able to do is understand that and be able to tolerate the failures that are necessary in order for us to grow and in order for us to gain confidence. So those are just 3 of the tools or stroke concepts that I actually teach in Imposter Syndrome coaching. It's not all of them, but it's the ones that are relevant to stopping you from laboring over your emails. So I hope you found that useful. I want you to go out and try today, like literally right now after you've watched this video, try those 6 steps of how to stop laboring over emails. Remember, how you do one thing, often how you do the smallest thing, is how you do everything. If you've liked what I shared in this video, I'm Caroline Flanagan. I am the Imposter Syndrome coach for lawyers. I'm going to help you to stop overworking, stop the overthinking, build confidence in who you are so you can progress your career and fulfill more of your potential. Here's the very sort of, I hope you can read that. I'll put it in the comments below, but here's the website to go to in order to join the waitlist for Imposter Syndrome coaching. It is for lawyers only, I'm afraid. So please only join the waitlist if you're a lawyer. And again, enrollment is not open. You can't join just yet, but you will be able to join soon. I'll be making an announcement over the coming weeks. It's carolineflanagan.com/imposter syndrome coaching. I hope you found that useful. I'll be back again soon with some more training. Bye for now.